Astaghfirullah.
First of all, Dr. Shafiq, thank you for joining us on our show. We have met twice as well during our Urdu podcasts, and this is the third time that we're meeting. We pay very close attention to the climate changes that are going on, especially being a Pakistani and living in this region. So, once again, I welcome you on the show. How are you, sir?
I am fine, Ali, and thank you very much for inviting me in such an insightful show. And I keep on watching different episodes of your podcast, and I always feel educated.
Thank you, sir. So before we lean into our episode, I just want you to give your a small brief introduction of yourself to our audience so they know where you're coming from.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Shafiq Ahmed Kamboh, and basically, currently I'm serving to my department at School of Communication Studies in University of the Punjab, Lahore, Pakistan. I did my PhD from Journey from Zemki Center for Media Information and Communication Research, and my area of doctoral research and my area of interest is science communication with a particular focus on environmental communication and health communication. So I have published in different well-known rather international research journals. You can read my publications on Google Scholar, and apart from that, I'm also working with different international development sector organizations like with UNESCO, with UNDP, with IMS, as a researcher and as a communication expert.
Okay, good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you.
First of all, the people who have clicked on our show might know what is this all about climate change and about the conditions in Pakistan, the weather conditions in Pakistan. First, can you give us an overview what is going on in Pakistan, and we can take it from there.
Ali, I think this monsoon has been one of the worst monsoon in the history of all these countries, which are, situated under the Himalayan and Karakoram foothills like Pakistan, India, Nepal. Uh, this monsoon is really playing a havoc with the lives and livelihood of the people. Unprecedented monsoon because we are seeing and experiencing, observing so many climate change induced extreme weather events in these countries. Like in this monsoon, we saw right from Uttarakhand, India, to Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan, and even on the left, if we go to the Buner district, it is basically situated in the Malakan division of Pakistan. So all these regions are situated in the outskirts in the foothills of Himalayan Karakoram. So we experienced the worst impacts of climate change induced events in these regions. Like one type of flood. There are four types of floods we have seen in this monsoon. One are GLOFs, which started almost 2 months before in these areas that I have just mentioned. GLOF is Glacial Lake Outburst Flooding. Due to the global warming during the recent 1 or 2 decades, lot of glacial lakes have been formed in these mountainous ranges. And we call this region as the third pole of the world because apart from north and south poles, the highest number of glaciers, which are the big lumps of ice, they are concentrated in this region. So this third pole has so many glacial lakes which are formed due to the rapid melting of snow in different areas, and eventually the lakes were formed. And this in this particular monsoon and even in the summer season, many of them, they were just burst out, and eventually the water, along with debris, it not only put a devastating impact not on the on the communities. It not only played with the lives of the communities in Uttarakhand. Many people, they were died, and even in Himachal and in Indian held Kashmir. So in Pakistan, fortunately, there were two narrow escaped glacial lake outburst events we experienced during the last 2 months. One in the last week and one in the month of July near the Atabad Lake. So this GLOF is a new phenomenon over here. We have started experiencing it during the last 2 decades, and it's just because of global warming. The other one is cloudburst. Cloudbursts are a very rare phenomenon that usually occur in the months of in monsoon, and particularly its events, they occur in hilly areas. Previously, their occurrence was not that often, but during this monsoon, we observed so many events of cloudburst in these regions that I've already mentioned you. So this cloud, the water that comes out of these cloud bursts, as a result, they play not only a havoc with the lives of the common people, but also they increase the water in the rivers. And the third type of flooding that we have experienced, it's also due to the climate change, because the weather patterns and the rain patterns have already they have changed. So, but due to the mismanagement and poor governance and poor forecasting systems in the big cities, metropolitan cities, we have experienced torrential rains, and many of the cities, they were almost drowned in this monsoon. Islamabad, Pindi, Lahore. Yesterday we saw it in Sialkot, Karachi. So these torrential and heavy rains, they have choked the underground water sewage system, drainage system, and eventually we saw urban flooding as a result of these climate change induced heavy rains. And the fourth one we are right now experiencing, and it is again the torrential heavy rains, cloud burst in Himalayan and Karakoram foothills. They eventually released a huge amount of water, and that water is right now first it entered into the Indian rivers, and then eventually they are right now passing through the Punjab plains. These are called riverine floods. So these four types of floods, they are yes, riverine floods were it was in the recent past, rather in the history of this region, they occur but once in a decade. But right now we are experiencing that after every 2 or 3 years for the in the last 1 decade. We experienced this one is the fourth big flood we are watching over here in Punjab and in Sindh. So I think climate change has really hit very hard to this particular part of the world. Therefore, German Watch has declared Pakistan as the most affected country by climate change in the world right now.
Okay. So you mentioned these four type of floodings. Out of these four, all of them are due to climate change, of what I picked up.
Yeah, exactly. These are climate change induced disasters because the
So
extremity in these
yeah.
events, the uncertainty in these incidents, and the frequency of these incidents. Okay, these all testify that these are all climate. And this is not my observation. This is not only my
Yeah.
perception. The scientists, the climate and environmental sciences scientists, they are declaring these the climate change induced events.
Okay, let's like simplify this for our audience and then take it from there. So it's what I understand is there's a roof made up of snow which is melting very fast and coming in the house, and
Yeah.
then there are a lot of rains and cloud bursts which is adding into all of this. All of this is happening due to climate change. Why is climate change happening so fast? Yeah, you were saying
Uh,
something.
Sorry, I just want to add here a point
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like GLOFs, why GLOFs are happening, Glacial Lake Outburst flooding. This summer, most of the cities in the GB region of Pakistan, Gilgit-Baltistan, they saw a high temperature. They saw very high temperature, like an increase of 8 to 9 degrees centigrade increase compared to the previously reported normal temperature patterns. So this increase has eventually, it really contributed in melting that snow, which is, which exists there in the form of glacier lumps. So eventually, this rise in temperature is because of global warming, and this global warming has eventually cause the change of weather patterns, which we call climate change. So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, your question is
Yeah.
there.
Please continue.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Again, I would like to mention here that Pakistan is not behind this change of weather patterns that we call climate change, because Pakistan emits less than 1% of greenhouse gases, but it is at the forefront of receiving its worst repercussions and impacts. So, our narrative over here in Pakistan is that we are the victims of climate injustice. Basically, historically speaking, the greenhouse gases are released and emitted by the rich countries, the industrial nations. They have emitted it, and because of during the last 150 years, just after the industrial revolution. So those countries which have emitted which have emitted and which are emitting very high greenhouse amount of greenhouse gases, they also facing this type of natural calamities or climate change induced disasters. But they have, because they are rich nations, they have the capacity, they have the potential to counter and to rehabilitate and to extend relief efforts to deal with the devastation happening due to these events. But Pakistan is a very poor country. We are an agro economy, and we do not have enough resources, and we do not have enough. You can say that we are already heavily debt burdened country. So it's very difficult for us to deal with this all crisis. So eventually, my point is that, like, I always keep on saying that this climate change is not basically, it's not the result of the actions which have been, taken up by the Pakistanis. It is basically a global phenomenon, this climate change, and the countries which have really contributed in creating all this crisis, they must be paying off the reparations, and they must be paying off these reparations, the loss and damage fund. And the governments in Pakistan, in Nepal, in Sri Lanka, and other similarly situated developing countries or low emitting countries, they should be, doing the relief and rehabilitation activities of taking money out of this proposed loss and damage fund.
Okay, so could you like explain to us a little bit more what is this and how can, because we are on the last in the list of emitting green gas, but we are top on the list of being affected from the green gas house green, what is it called? A
Greenhouse
green
gases. Greenhouse gas.
greenhouse gas.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gases. Yeah, we're on the top of being affected. How can Pakistan steer out of this? And also, you've mentioned that because other countries also go through this, they've got a good budget, and then they know how to survive. They can survive, but it's also because we have these great, unprecedented mountains as well. The great Himalaya, the great Karakoram. This is like it has the biggest peaks of the world. We are talking about these mountain ranges. It so has a lot of weight and has a lot of toll as well. So without undermining the size of the Karakoram and Himalaya, we what should we be doing to make sure this should minimize? Stopping is a tall claim.
Uh, Pakistan and India, fortunately and unfortunately, I would like to say that yes, we have these great and mighty Himalaya, Karakoram, and we are living under their foothills. But unfortunately, this is very fortunate because of having these mountainous ranges, we have very good weather patterns. Historically, we have been having very good weather patterns because they act as a buffer zone and the air sorry these rain induced the rain patterns over here, they have been developed just because of these mountainous ranges. So and at the same time they help block the cold airs and other precipitation oriented rains from the north of the world. So they act as a very good buffer zone. But unfortunately, right now, because of this climate change, the snow on these mountainous ranges, it is melting at a very rapid speed, and at the same time rain patterns have entirely changed. The rain events has now they are triggered by cloud burst and torrential rains, and within a very short period of time a lot of water it comes in our rivers, and eventually it basically results in a devastating impact on lives and livelihoods of people. So they are a blessing. We are living under these Himalayan ranges and Karakoram ranges. It's a blessing, but at the same time, it has started creating many problems to the people of Pakistan. My point is that, like the countries which are actually emitting these greenhouse gases like the United States of America, the European Union, the Middle Eastern countries, which are fossil fuel generators. They should think on that, like why. Uh, I know right now it's very difficult to talk on this topic because we have a leadership in the world which is basically most of them, many of them, not most of them, many of them, they are climate change deniers. But unfortunately, what's happening? These rich countries, they do have the resources to counter these repercussions of climate change. But the countries like Pakistan and other low emitting countries, we do not have enough resources. So our long standing demand from these high emitting countries is that please create and make a loss and damage fund. We put this idea back in 1990s, but unfortunately, almost 35 years have passed on, and the rich countries, Whenever this type of flooding or some other disastrous event happen in some part of the world, for the time being, they say that okay, let's talk on this. Yes, and they make some commitments. Even what happened in back in 2022 after the worst human history flooding event in Pakistan. In the next COP in 2022 in November, these rich countries they committed that yes, in next 1 year we will put $100 billion in this fund, and eventually, whenever a climate change induced event in some low emitting country, it will happen. It will be compensated out of that money. But what we have what we are hearing from our policymakers during the last week. I was stunned to know that uh, uh, after that 2022 flooding event in Pakistan, we received just $2.1 million. Listen, please, and hold your, because just
And,
just a peanut, not even we can
yeah,
call it a peanut.
and what share is this are we talking about? Out of how
Uh,
many we got how many?
uh, they I don't know how much money they have put in this fund,
Fun.
but they gave us just $2.1 million, despite the fact that we have a declared loss of $30 billion in that flooding
Okay.
event. This is not the data provided by the government of the Pakistan, by the international organizations. They estimated that the loss of the
$30
Pakistan
billion
30
dollars.
billion, and eventually what happened? The government when it did not receive any help from the international, we received few some other money on, but it was just on the name of climate financing, in the name of debts which we are supposed to pay back. And so I think it's very miserable situation on this front.
Doc-
And
if I could add, you named a few countries, top few countries which are creating, which have the most carbon footprint. That's also what we call it. So
yeah.
you named America, you named the European Union, you named UAE. Can we have a like do we have the top five, the biggest emitters, and the top five, the biggest affectees, just off the top of your head, whatever you remember?
Historically, these are the biggest emitters. But right now, if you Google it out, you will come to know that the China is the biggest emitter, because during the last 3 and 4 decades, the China it has tried to
Industry,
pull
yeah.
its people out of this vicious circle of poverty. So eventually, they have industrialized their country. But historically speaking, what do I mean by historically speaking? Right from the beginning of industrial revolution in the late 1850s, the biggest emitter is the United States of America, then European Union, then Russia, and then Middle Eastern countries. But if you see the current data, you will come to know that the biggest emitter is China, then it's the United States of America, then it is India, then European Union, and so on. And whenever you find the countries which are most affected by these climate change induced events, according to this recent German Watch report, it's called Climate Risk Index Report, CRI report. Pakistan is the
Mm,
most affected country. This report
mm.
was issued this year in the month of March. Pakistan is the most affected country. Second is a small South American country, it's Belize. And the third one
Ah,
is Italy. And then there are a few countries from the far eastern, like the countries which are low-lying countries. I'm just forgetting the exact country over there, but it is Philippines or Thailand, but it's low-lying country. So Belize and Pakistan. Can you imagine our contribution in the global warming or in eventual this climate change? We do not have any contribution, but we are at the forefront of receiving its negative
so
impact.
if the countries that you've named which are affected, uh, if they get the fund, how, where is the fund spent to minimize these activities of the weather?
I don't think this fund is basically needed to counter climate change. Climate change
Mm.
is not happening because of Pakistan, Belize, or Philippines. Climate change is happening because of the global activities undertaken by human beings in every part of the country, the world. Mostly these gases which are responsible for undertaking this climate change. These gases are emitting by the people who are living in rich countries, high emitting countries. So we do not have any contribution in that, but unfortunately, the people in these rich countries, they are even, they do not support our voice, they do not support our narrative of this
Yeah,
climate justice.
yeah.
It's quite unjust. And
What
I,
what I tried to ask was, I think I wasn't clear with my question. With the fund, if the countries which are affected the most from climate change, they get a fund from, for example, UN.
yeah.
What would these countries do with the fund? How can you change the weather with money?
Yeah. This fund is not, is not required to deal with climate change. Basically, it is required to, compensate the losses
Relief
that
work.
we experience
Yeah.
as relief efforts and rehabilitation activities. But in the longer run, we can spend it out on, adapting our infrastructure, our
In a way.
cities
Mhm.
in this changing environment of climate change. So we need to make our infrastructure climate change resilient. So a lot of funds they are required because right now what's happening over here, we are experiencing four different types of floods. And by the end of the day, what will happen when this flooding event is gone? We will see a big devastation, the complete loss of roads and other infrastructure, bridges, and so many other things. So, in order to rehabilitate and rebuild this all this infrastructure, we need money. We need money from not from the taxes that we generate from our people. We need this money not as a charity from the international community. This is our right. This is our, the world. It should be just enough to compensate, to provide this reparation to the people of Pakistan, to the other similar situated countries, because we do not have any contribution in this climate change. So my point is that the money that will come out of this loss and damage fund, it is not basically required to counter the changing weather patterns of the world. It is, yes, we can stop climate change not with the money, by but by reducing our emissions. Humans can, the only way we can stop this climate change and its the resultant events, climate change induced events, they can be only undertaken with the by reducing the greenhouse gases, and not with the help of money or other side things.
How can we help in reducing the carbon footprint of European Union or the US?
Activism. Okay, so climate activism
Mm.
is the only. We have put these rich governments under a lot of pressure by student activist movement. Can you imagine? There are a lot of international celebrities right now. You heard the name of Greta Thunberg from Friday for Future, and similarly Extinction Rebellion. These are the movements which are right now very much active, and wherever these representative of rich governments they go, these climate activists, they follow and they chase them and they keep on reminding them just reduce the, just stop this madness, and try to reduce the global emissions, because this leadership of the current world, it has spent most of their life. The future is, it lies with the youth of this world, and you have made this world so irresilient. We do not find our future in this present world sustainable anymore. So please help reduce these greenhouse gases emissions, and this is the only way, I think, because these rich governments, they are not answerable to anybody in this world apart from these activist movements, journalists, activists, civil society organizations, and this type of people. They can put some sort of pressure on them.
Dr. Shafiq, thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Welcome.